The Tour de France 2023 route was unveiled in Paris, and it has a number of sprint stages over medium mountains and a historically low number of time trial kilometers. While the Col de la Loze, Col du Tourmalet, Jeux Plain and Grand Colombier all feature prominently, there isn't a single mountain stage that can compare to the severity of the Col du Granon in 2022. This Tour de France thing, how long does it last? Where will the upcoming Tour de France go through? Don't forget to subscribe to Cycling News Live so you don't miss today's video, in which we'll address all of your concerns and inquiries. So why wait? Let's get right in. Paris, France. It is possible that it is a cliche that the Tour de France Hommes is always won in the mountains, but this will most definitely be the case in the edition that takes place in 2023. It has just a single time trial, which is also an uphill test at Combloux in the northern Alps, where the majority of the crucial mountain action will be focused. It has 4 summit finishes, in addition to a bunch of other climbing tests. It is probably fair to say, not a route that is likely to convince Vuelta and Espana champion Remco Evenepoel to renounce his strongly publicized plans to ride the Giro d'Italia, where there are 3 time trials on the menu. The race consists of a one-time trial that is 22 kilometers long and goes from Passy to Combloux. There is also 8 stages that take place in the Alps, and 4 of those stages end with a summit finish. The competition will begin on July 1st in the Basque Country and will come to an end on July 23rd in Paris. The Grand Départ, which takes place in the Basque Country, establishes the turn right away. The 2 generally difficult stages that will take place through the valleys and over the hills of the region will bring the contenders for the yellow jersey to the forefront of the action. The Tour de France will enter French territory for the first time in Bayonne, where it will remain until it concludes in Paris. The penultimate day of competition on Spanish soil will usher in a change in pace, with the emphasis shifting to the sprinters. On the next day, at the Nogaro motor racing circuit close to Auch, the sprinters should get another opportunity to go elbow to elbow with one another. Following their role as hosts of the final stage of the Tour de France for the past 2 years in a row, the Pyrenees will only play host to 2 stages in 2019. Both of these stages will be challenging, but they will also be designed to ensure that the gaps between the overall classification favorites remain relatively insignificant. The first of them, into Laurens, recreates the finish of the final stage of the 2020 race into the town. In that stage, Tadej Pogacar won his first victory in the race after climbing the Sode, and Marie Blanc passes by outsprinting Primo Roglic, Mark Hirschi, Egan Bernal and Mikel Landa. In this stage, Tadej Pogacar will try to repeat his victory. After conquering the Col d'Aspin and the Col du Tourmalet, the second segment culminates with a lengthy ascent that is not overly strenuous and leads to the Plateau des Cambasques, which is located above Cauteretz. The sprinters will look forward to run into Bordeaux the following day because it is a city that has a long history of being connected with them. Nonetheless, the city hasn't seen a finish in the Tour de France since 2010, when Mark Cavendish won the race there. A sprinter should have an advantage going into the punchy uphill climax in Limoges. Both Puy de Dôme and Grand Colombier might be seen from there. This sets up the next stage, which begins in Raymond Poulidor's hometown of Saint Leonard de Noblat and concludes on the Puy de Dôme, an ancient volcano in the Massif Central. This is the location where the French legend engaged in his most famous duel with rival and 5-time Tour de France winner Jacques Anquetil in 1964. It appeared that the mountain that overlooks Clermont-Ferrand might never reappear on the race route due to environmental concerns. However, those concerns have been allayed, and the iconic climb that was first conquered by Fausto Coppi in 1952 is back. The most difficult section of the climb is the final 4 kilometers that corkscrew around the volcanic cone at an average of 12% to the summit. After having a day off in Clermont and riding a bumpy stage that will favor a breakout through the Massif Central to Issoire, the sprinters should be back in the thick of things on the long straight that goes into Moulins on stage 11. It will then be followed by what looks like it will be a beautiful stage through the rolling vineyards of the Beaujolais region, which will conclude with an uphill finale in Belleville-en-Beaujolais, a regular finish town in the Paris-Nice race, and the punchy Tom Jelte Slagter being the most recent winner there in 2014. In recent years, the Grand Colombier has emerged as a fan favorite on the Tour, and it will make its return on Bastille Day. This stage will have a summit finish on the 17-kilometer climb, much like it did in 2020, when Pogacar once again bested Roglic to take second place, while defending champion Egan Bernal, who was afflicted with back pain, saw his chances of winning the overall competition fade. A time trial followed by the Alps and the Vosges. The Grand Colombier will serve as the warm-up for 2 consecutive days spent racing across the Alps. The first of these days will take the riders into Morzine, and after having conquered from formidable Ramas and Jeux Plain passes. Ion Izagirre was the winner of the 2016 edition of this race. On the third Sunday, they will travel through the Col de la Fauclaz de Montmine, the Croix-Fry and the Aravis passes in order to take on the Saint-Gervais Mont Blanc resort climb to Le Betex. This is the climb that Romain Bardet used to skin his general classification competitors in 2017. There were whispers that an early portion of the race may involve a team time trial. However, Christian Prudhomme, the director of the race, ultimately announced that there will only be one time trial, which will be an individual test. The majority of the 22-kilometer track between Passy and Colombo will consist of ascents, which is consistent with the climber-friendly aspect of the route. The Côte de Damancy is the most notable aspect of the landscape, having gained notoriety as a result of its role as the decisive challenge in the 1980 World Road Racing Championship and as the place where Bernard Hinault launched his winning charge. As it comes directly after the second day of rest, it is a stage that will almost certainly be more suitable for climbers than it will be for time trial specialists. More than 5,000 meters of vertical ascent are on the schedule for this stage, which serves as the warm-up for the most difficult day of the race in the highlands. The Col de Saizes and the Cormet de Roseland passes occur early on in the race, but the toughest challenge will come on the Col de la Loze, which is also a returnee from the 2020 edition. In that race, Miguel Angel Lopez beat Rogan Pog to win at the summit. The riders will continue on from the 2,302-meter mountain and make the short drop into Courchevel, where the finish will be located on the 18% runway of the Altiport. This is a change from the previous finale, which was located on the same terrain. After that, there will be 4 stages left, the first of which will provide an opportunity for the sprinters who have already conquered the most difficult mountains to engage their highest gear once again in the pursuit of victory in Bourg-en-Bresse. They will also have the option to do so once more the following day, on the day when they will be able to bypass the hills of the Jura region on the long, straight run-in to Poligny. On the penultimate stage, riders will traverse from Roscher's Massif, which offers a tribute to the same day in the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift in the previous year, when Annemiek van Vleuten won the race by riding alone. There will be a lot of climbs on this day. The finish on the Markstein is the same as in the previous stage, but the approach to it is similar to the center stretch of the previous stage, which is when the Dutch woman clinched the yellow jersey. After a series of ascents, competitors will face their final challenges on the Petit Ballon and Platzer Weissel. After that, they will have a relatively short descent to the finish line. After that, all that is left to do is the processional stage into Paris, which will start at the Velodrome in Saint-Quentin-en-Yvelines, which is scheduled to serve as the venue for the track events at the Olympic Games of 2024. The conclusion of the race will take place on the Champs-Élysées, where the bunch of sprinters will have the opportunity to try to unseat Jasper Philipsen, who won the race in the French capital this year. Meanwhile, the rider of the yellow jersey will celebrate his overall victory with the rest of his teammates. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And on that uplifting note, we must adjourn. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content.